How many of you out there get as excited as I do when you see these nice, tight, trimmed edge lines? Look at how tight that is. Oh, it's a thing of beauty.
Alright, the first mower tip we're going to talk about, everybody, is this gas can. So this is by far, in my opinion, the best gas canister you'll ever see. And I definitely recommend it because of the fact that how many times are you mowing the lawn and all of a sudden you're halfway through or something, in the middle of your lawn, far away from the gas canister, and guess what? You run out of gas. So obviously you don't want to bring the lawnmower all the way back to probably your garage or wherever you have the gas canister. So what you end up doing is bring the gas canister over to your lawnmower, and then while you're filling it up, sometimes you overflow, and then you definitely don't want gasoline when it overflows. You don't want it all over the top of the lawnmower, engine compartment, anywhere else where it's not supposed to be. But most importantly, you don't want that gas to be overflowing and be on your grass. If the gasoline gets on your grass, it'll definitely kill it immediately. So that'll definitely take a while, if it even comes back, depending on how much gasoline actually goes down into the root system. Obviously, it's never best practices or recommended to fill up your lawnmower with gas while you're actually on the lawn. You always want to do it on concrete or somewhere you don't care about, just in case of overspillage. But hey, we all do it. We've all been there. I've done it myself. So so definitely recommend buying this. So definitely throw all those old gas canisters away, because those are definitely going to be garbage in comparison. And this new one has a button right here, so all you do is you push on the button, and that unleashes like a valve inside that says, hey, okay, no more can come out after you stop pressing the button, so you'll never overflow again. So, and I can even, so here it is, so you put it in, and I can even just rest it on here and make it even easier. So now, when I'm filling it up, I'm holding the button down, and you can see I'm still holding the button down. I'm not letting go. No more is coming up though. I'll hold it for even longer, just in case you think the gas tank is that big. So you see, now I can undo the button and take it out. So now I know the gas tank is full because the button stopped. Just like when you're filling up a car, you know it's full when you hear that click. It's basically the same thing. It won't click, but it just won't fill up anymore because it'll automatically stop. So definitely make sure you pick this up. This is like 15, 20 bucks maybe on Amazon, so definitely worth it. Throw out all those gas canisters, and it's an easy twist on, twist off, instead of those old other ones you don't want to deal with. So do yourself a favor and buy this. No more overflow, no more spillage, no more wasted gas. It'll end up paying for itself over time with all that wasted gas.
Just a quick little reminder for everybody. Always mow tall. I mow at about 3 inches. And never want to cut more than 1/3 of your blade of grass off for each mowing. If you have to cut more than 1/3 off, I recommend doing more than one mowing. Time to get my last little strip going here. Some people like mohawks, but definitely not in the grass.
Here's your next mowing tip, everybody. So how do you know if you're cutting the lawn as often as you should and you're not letting your grass grow too long? So one of the easiest ways I can think of is if you look at the lines of the lawnmower, where the wheels go, you'll notice that if the lawn is too long when you cut it, you will notice that all the leftover grass is not being mulched properly. So if you bag, you can bag when it's obviously longer grass, and you don't want to, if you have overgrown grass and you don't want to mow it twice like you should, because you never want to cut more than 1/3 of each blade of grass off. Otherwise you increase the risk for tearing, ripping at the grass, and leaving it open for infestation and disease, a whole bunch of stuff you don't want to get into. So the easiest way to know is watch the lines and see while you're mowing. Don't just mow without thinking. You should keep your eyes open when you're mowing. Look for weeds, so you could spot spray as needed, and also look along the lines for the leftover grass clippings that don't get mulched up properly because either your lawnmower can't handle it or it's wet, you know, a whole bunch of things. So you don't want to see the leftover grass clippings left, you know, in bunches on the side. You know, that definitely means that your lawnmower can't handle the cutting at that frequency. You got to increase your mowing frequency. Or you can get a new lawnmower if you really want to be, you know, cut it as frequent as you currently are, but you don't want to see those grass clippings. So, you know, each lawnmower is different, so there's no standard as far as, oh, how much can I cut off? You know, is it an inch, 2 inches? You know, if you have 4-inch grass, can you cut off, you know, what percent? You know, that's not about that. So, like I said, so definitely want to check your grass clippings. You don't want to leave that left over on those lines, because otherwise those going to leave too much thatch. It's going to increase that thatch layer on the ground from, you know, where the soil is, and you got the layer of thatch, which is, I don't know, should be about that or so. And definitely want to keep that as low as possible. And I know some of you are talking about, okay, well, I aerate and I also do a dethatcher, or I do either or. But again, yes, that'll work and that'll help, but the less clippings you have getting down in that layer, and the smaller it is, you don't want to see these big grass clippings. That's going to drown out the water, so the water can't get to the soil, and also the sunlight, you know, can't reach down. So you don't want that. So definitely make sure that you mow on a regular basis so that you don't see those grass clippings, and keep that frequency and mower height consistent. Now let me show you one thing. We just mowed our lawn, so I'm going to show you what you should see. So if we look at some of this grass here, if we get down up in here, we'll go real low here. So this grass here should have a nice top to it. So see how the tops of this is not brown at all. That's ideally what we're looking for. We're not looking for any brown tips on here. And you can see the tops of all these are very light, very green. So that's ideally what we want. If you see brown on the top, then that means that your lawnmower usually needs to be sharpened. Okay, so again, this is what we're looking for. Very little, no ripping at all on the end. You're gonna see a little bit of brown, but very, very little. One more mowing tip I want to talk about is this. So on these very hot July days, you know, it's a good 90 degrees, plus when you add the heat index, the humidity, it's around 100 a day. So definitely recommend carrying like a sweat towel. So basically just soak this in cold water. So it's very nice. You could just, hey, keep it cool, wrap it around your neck. You know, you definitely want to be safe out there, because you don't want to get too hot out there. So definitely stay hydrated, just like you want to keep the grass hydrated and irrigated. You want to stay irrigated and cool yourself. And this idea, actually, I wouldn't even have thought about it, but my father-in-law, who's from China, he lives in China, we had him out here a couple times for the wedding, for our baby, and probably have him out here again in the next couple months for our second baby. So this idea came from him. He's like, hey, you should be wearing this, you know, nice cold wet towel. And man, it's amazing the simple things that I just wouldn't think about, but I guess I'm not very creative, and you know, that comes second nature to some people, but that's definitely not me. But definitely, I love this trick. It saves me a lot of heat and aggravation. You know, now I don't have to mind rushing, getting your lawn cut in these hot days, because hey, I'm staying relatively cool now. The next mower tip we're going to talk about is trimming. So obviously I have not mowed or trimmed this area yet. That's next on my to-do list. But one of the things that I recently just did, and I'm very happy about it, is you see this Comcast wire right here. So obviously when you're trimming this and weed whacking, you're going to want to avoid this, and then you get the grass building up all the way around it, because you don't want to weed whack and then end up hitting the wire. And of course, eventually, you know, one time hitting it with a weed whacker is not going to do any damage, but then after a while, you know, you're going to probably break through these wires because they're pretty thin. Therefore, and you know, of course, Comcast is going to be all too happy to charge you, what, $50, $60 to come out here and change out the wire that you broke because it's your fault. So what I just did is installed
this, I don't know what you call it, like a wire snake, and now I have no more issues with it. And this grew this tall after 1 week. So, but these are very nice, very easy to snap on, and no more worry about weed whacker damage to the wires.
So the next mower tip we're going to talk about is to always mow in different directions. So obviously if you're like me and you have, so this is the main side of my front yard, and that I can mow any different directions and it's going to look good probably, except for maybe like a circle design because my tree is not in the center of my yard, and thank goodness it's not, right? But this section here, you know, I only have, I don't know, what is this, maybe 10, 15 feet of grass. So this takes a lot of time to mow either you know, horizontally this way or also diagonal. So obviously it's going to take a lot more time to mow in different directions. But for this, especially for this, you know, the main section of my grass, I definitely want to mow it in different directions. So one of the main reasons that you're going to want to mow in different directions is to avoid ruts. And I'll show you a picture of what a rut is. So you see that picture that I just put up. So that's a prime example of what's going to happen if you keep mowing the same direction every single time. And you keep going over the same lines. Now obviously that's worst case, but that is definitely a problem that could happen if you keep mowing over the same lines over and over, you know, like the lines between neighbors. So you could definitely see where your ruts are. You know, when you mow the lawn, you know, sometimes if it's low, you don't even know where the last cut was because you can always see the lines in the same direction. Therefore, you know, that's showing you, your grass is basically telling you, hey, mow me in different directions so you can tell, you know, the length of the cut easier, because you keep cutting in the same direction, you see those same mower lines in the same direction, and then because of that, also as an after effect, what you also see is the grass leaning in the same direction each time. Just like if you mow the same, so if you mow in the same direction every single time, the grass is always going to lean the same way. Now, yes, this is good if you're talking about stripes. If you really want to get the deepest, darkest stripes, one of the tricks you can do is always mow the same line. This line behind me is a prime example. So if I always wanted to go over this the exact same, and I want this to be as light as possible so that the dark next to it contrasts great, I'll mow them in the same direction every single time. But of course it's going to eventually leave more marks, and so you can, you know, play around with that, decide what's most important to you. Is it mower marks? Is it making your stripes as dark as possible? There's going to be some people in each boat, so you know, you can't win with everybody, but so it depends on what you're interested in. Another reason why you'd want to mow in different directions, just give your lawn a little difference in life. Hey, grass is alive too, right? We all want difference. We don't want to eat the same meal over and over and over. You know, you can mix up different fertilizers, you can mix up different, you know, watering schedules, you can mix up a lot of different things. So you know, it's a good idea to mix up the grass just so it's all not leading in the same direction every single time. Give it some fresh look, you know, give your neighbors a fresh look when they're cutting it. You know, you mow up and down, then you mow sideways, and you mow some diagonals. Hey, maybe mow some circles or some checkerboards. Hey, it all looks good. So find out what works best for you. But definitely you want to keep mowing in different directions so you don't especially go into the same ruts. And if you go into the same ruts, you keep matting those ruts down where the wheels go. And you know, usually you're not going to mow the exact same lines, but when you have lines between neighbors, a lot of the times that could happen, you know, or, you know, so you definitely want to avoid that if possible.